Welcome back. Now, it's still not clear when SAFA is going to announce a new Bafana Bafana coach. They had first promised to announce Mashaba's successor by the end of last month, and then they moved it to last Friday. Come Friday, it was then postponed again to this week. With the week ending tomorrow, it doesn't look like there'll be any announcement anytime soon. SABC Sport stands by its report that SAFA President Danny Jordaan met Herve, Renard and Hugo earlier this week in Zambia, contrary to what the agents are reportedly saying in the media. This was after the preferred candidate, Carlos Queiroz, had pulled out of the race due to complications with his current employers in Iran. Mbuli, award-winning journalist, joins us to jump a little bit into this and sort of dissect it and try and get an understanding of it. Good evening and thanks very much for coming through, very late.
Good evening, Kendall. It's interesting how that intro is worded.
Oh yes, no, look, we had to be very careful about what we put in, what we say, without implicating anybody in anything, because there's a lot of speculation around what's been said and what hasn't been said. But before we get into the meat of that discussion, I'd really like to talk about the big topic at the point, and that's really been the South African under-20s, Amajita. They've surpassed expectations. They've gotten themselves into the FIFA World Cup in May, something that really needs to be lauded and applauded.
Look, the last time this team qualified for a World Cup, it was back in 2009, and this is only the third time that South Africa is qualifying for the Under-20 World Cup. Sheikh's Mashaba 1997, Sirameli Tswaka 2009, and now Thabo Sinong has done it. So this is something good, and also when you look that they've done it with 9 boys who were in Chile for the Under-17 World Cup 2 years ago, and those 9 boys now, they were there in Zambia, and the first prize obviously was to qualify for the World Cup. 2 years ago, Thabo Sinong had an opportunity to also qualify for this Under-20 World Cup. Unfortunately, they ended third in their group, beating Zambia 5-2 in the last game. So now he got a chance to redeem himself. He's done that. So SAFA talks about Vision 2022. So when you look at what they've achieved now, it means that this team, they are going to South Korea in May for the Under-20 World Cup. From there, the expectation is that they will continue to the 2020 Olympics in Tokyo, and hopefully most of those boys will still be there for Qatar 2022. Provided you qualify. I
like that thing that you talked about, the continuity, about how these are, 9 of those boys were under-17s that were at the Chile World Cup, and here they are now, they're about to go to Korea, and it's phenomenal stuff, that like that continuity that everybody's been complaining about, that we find or unearth talent, and then we lose it. It's actually being fixed right now. That's pretty cool. And talking about continuity, the squad that Owen Gama announced earlier today features 2 of the standout performers. Not that any of the others were shoddy in their performances, but Mahlambi and Singh are in this 25-man squad for Bafana Bafana.
Look, Mahlambi, one will say maybe because he arrived late in Zambia, he didn't have a great tournament. He only had 2 games to play anyway. But when you consider that he missed out on the Olympics last year, and he had been on a long-term injury layoff from March until December, but he comes back in December. He plays 6 matches, he scores 4 goals, provides 5 assists before going to Zambia. So that's a quality player right there. So the calls for him to be in the team were there even before going to Zambia. So meaning that the inclusion of Luther Singh, I mean, this is a boy I spoke to in November last year, and he was just happy that he'll be donning the national colors in the COSAFA Cup. It's history that he played in that tournament, scored 5 goals, top goal scorer, and then he went back to Sweden. Now, just before the end of the transfer window, he signs for Sporting Braga. He's already the leading goal scorer with 4 goals in this competition.
That's class.
So, and also talking to SAFA President Danny Jordaan earlier this week, the expectation was that he will be in the team. And true to form today, ODG, Owen, who was the caretaker coach for Bafana Bafana, included him in the national team. There are other boys that I also feel that they need to get a crack, but boys like Mbata, but they need to play first and at their clubs. I mean, when was the last time we had 19-year-olds in this Bafana Bafana setup? Maybe 2 years ago with Rivaldo Kutsie and Fakhri Lakay and some of them.
Lots of risks being taken, but also talking about risks and things that you can bank with. Kermit Erasmus comes back into the side, Mukocho as well. Seems like a bit of a reunion for some of the older players that had actually played for Bafana Bafana before.
In fact, in the press conference today, I teased ODG to say is it a case of a new broom sweeping clean, you know? Because Umkocho, Erasmus, these are players who have not been called, or who are not being called by
the previous coach. In fact, they'd actually even,
yes,
said he resigned.
Yes, in fact, with Mukocho, he went as far as even retiring from the national team setup. So it's good to see them back. But there's an issue around Mukocho because he has also taken a citizenship of Holland. Remember, he wants to be part of the European Union, so that for him, they will not require
especially
when it comes to work permit, because they're struggling. Remember, there have been clubs that are interested in the services, especially in the English league. So there's been that issue. But I think it's a fairly balanced squad. Most of the journalists today, we're left with very few questions to ask. Yes, there are questions there and there about Serrero because he hasn't been playing, you know. But I think it's a good team. It's a good team.
I think there's things to ask about Velvik as well, because I mean, throughout this entire season, he's actually appeared only 5 times for his team throughout the entire season, and he's been included in the squad. But you know what? I digress, because I think for me, really important that a big question that is coming up is what is happening with the Bafana Bafana coach position, because we're going into further and further into the year, and we're yet to have a coach who can say, look, this is the person who's going to be like guiding all the structures, guiding everybody. What's going on there?
Yeah, I think this one is slightly disappointing for the nation, because we were told that the new coach is coming by the end of last month, and last month became last Friday. Last Friday became this week, and the week is ending, and doesn't look like there will be a coach. And this is also a very tricky time, because you have countries like Cote d'Ivoire, you have countries like Algeria, you have countries like Ghana. They are also without head coaches at the moment. In fact, I've just seen somewhere now that Ghana is pushing for a local coach. So, meaning that Apia could be coming back from Sudan. So, we are also competing, you know. I mean, one of our candidates for this job, Herve Renard, is also wanted in Ghana. Also, you remember, he won an AFCON title with Cote d'Ivoire. They also want him back there. And I've been reading and also listening, especially this week, to some agents, you know. And to me, not that I've got something against agents, but it proves something that we always have to be very careful with agents when they say, no, they've not been contacted and that. But already, I know that SAFA, one of their members in the leadership, met with some of the coaches that have been reported about this week.
How do you think it's going to pan out in the next few days? Because the longer it takes, the more challenging it becomes to get things right. How do you think it's going to play out in the next few days? Because, I mean, Bruce, Renard, Queiroz, Stuart Baxter was apparently in the mix, and I say apparently for a reason. In the mix was at some point. Pizzo had been looked at some point. Apparently,
look, Pizzo would have been a perfect choice. He's the reigning African coach of the year. He's the reigning champion coach, but already has indicated that he's not interested.
He's not going
to
do it. Yes.
Also, I think Stuart Baxter has been very clear that he doesn't want this job. Maybe he's being pushed behind at his club to say that. You know the story with Carlos Queiroz and his buyout clause as well. It doesn't look like that one is happening. So the issue has been around Hugo Bruce and also Herve Renard, but there have also been a lot of reports that negotiations broke down earlier this week with Herve Renard as well. I'm not really sure about Bruce as well. So meaning that at this stage we don't know. But a little birdie has also told me that there's a signature, but I don't know whose signature is it. If there is really a signature. I
really have been waiting for that. The entire evening I've been waiting to hear those few words from you, the but.
I don't know. I mean, there's a coach who's just resigned at Polokwane City today, Luke Email, you know, but I don't think he fits the criteria.
Well, thank you very much. I think there's a lot more to be looked at, and we're hoping that when it does eventually break, that we're able to share it with you and share it with our viewers at the same time.
We break news, yeah.
William Mbuli, thank you very much. Award-winning journalist, helping us to try and get to the bottom of what's been happening with everything with regards to Bafana Bafana, Amajita, and all things national football. Now, moving on.